All right, so you've been learning Python, right? You've got the syntax down, you get what loops are, and you've wrestled with dictionaries. But there's this huge gap between knowing the words of a language and actually building something with it. Today, we're going to close that gap. We're going on that journey from being a Python learner to becoming a real Python builder. You know, this quote from data scientist Hilary Mason, it just hits the nail on the head. That feeling, that rush you get when you create a program that actually automates some boring task or solves a real problem, that's the magic. It's that aha moment when your code finally clicks and does something useful. And that's the feeling we're chasing today.
So that's the real question, isn't it? You're staring at that blank editor, the cursor is blinking, and it's just so easy to feel completely overwhelmed. You've got the knowledge in your head, but the road from here to a finished, working application feels, well, it feels foggy. It's a super common hurdle, but it's one we can definitely get over with a clear plan.
Okay, let's get into it. The very first thing to understand is that projects are the bridge. They're what connect the theory in your head to actual practical skills. I mean, you can watch tutorials forever, but until you start building, you're not really applying what you know.
So, here's why this is so critical. Building a project forces you to solve messy, real-world problems that you just don't find in textbooks. It cements your skills, it helps you actually remember stuff, and, this is the big one, it creates tangible proof of what you can do. Let's be honest, a GitHub profile with actual projects, that speaks way louder to an employer than a certificate from some online course. It shows you can turn code into solutions. All right, so the next big question is, what do you actually build? Now, this shouldn't be stressful. Think of it more like choosing your first quest in a video game. The whole point is to pick something that's interesting to you and is actually achievable. Your motivation? That's your most important resource here. Here are a few solid places to start. You could build a file organizer to automatically sort your messy downloads folder using Python's built-in OS and pseudo libraries. Super useful. Or, if you're into data, why not analyze a real dataset of diamond prices with pandas and see what actually makes them so expensive? For web development, a simple to-do list app with a framework like Flask is a classic for a reason. Or you could build a weather dashboard, which teaches you how to pull in data from an outside API. That's a totally fundamental skill. Okay, let's spark some more ideas. How about a real-time earthquake tracker? You could pull live data from the USGS and actually plot seismic activity on a map. Imagine showing your friends a map of earthquakes happening right now. It's pretty cool, and it teaches you how to handle live data streams. Or what about something like a fake news classifier? This gets you into the world of natural language processing, or NLP, which is basically teaching computers to understand our language. You could train a simple model to tell the difference between reliable and unreliable news articles. I mean, how relevant is that? You could build an AI-powered chatbot. Even a simple one, that just answers questions from a script you write, is a fantastic introduction to conversational AI. It helps you understand the building blocks of those huge systems that we all use now.
And finally, a personal finance tracker. This is a project that solves a real problem. For you, you can use it to sort your spending, see where your money is going, and maybe even connect to your bank's data. Honestly, the best projects are the ones that just make your own life a little bit easier.
So you've got an idea. Now what? How do you actually get started? It is so tempting to just open a new file and start hammering out code, but trust me, a little setup makes a huge difference. Let's look at the essential toolkit for any professional-level project. These 4 steps, these are what separate a quick and dirty script from a real professional project, and they're totally non-negotiable. First, you use Git for version control. Second, you create a virtual environment to keep all your project's libraries walled off from everything else. Third, you use a requirements.txt file to list every single package your project needs. And fourth, you use tools like Rough or Black to keep your code clean and readable from the get-go. Let's just zoom in on that first one for a second. Version control. What is Git, really? Well, think of it as a time machine for your code. Every time you make a commit, you're creating a save point for your entire project. If you mess something up badly, no problem, just rewind to the last working version. Want to try out a new feature? You create a branch to experiment safely without breaking your main code. It's the ultimate safety net, and it lets you code without fear.
All right, you're set up, you're ready to code. This is where the real work and the real fun begins. It's also where you're going to face some of the most common challenges. But don't worry, every single developer goes through this.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the breakdown of what being a developer actually looks like. A lot of beginners think it's all about just writing new code, but in reality, a huge chunk of your time is spent debugging, then refactoring your old code to make it better, and managing all the libraries you're using. Seeing an error message isn't a sign you failed. It's just part of the process.
So to get through it successfully, you got to stick to the best practices. Write your code in small, focused functions. That's modular code. Commit your changes often with clear messages. On the flip side, you have to avoid the common pitfalls, like not using a virtual environment. That's just asking for chaos. Or hard-coding your secret passwords and API keys right into your code. Big no-no. And please, please, don't ignore errors. They're literally trying to tell you what's wrong.
So, you built it. It works. That feeling of triumph is real. But don't just stop there. The last phase is all about showing off what you've done and using that momentum as a springboard for your next big challenge.
And this timeline here really lays out the path. You see? You start with a simple script, but the skills you learn there, like handling user input or working with files, they become the foundation for an intermediate project, like a full e-commerce site. And the skills you get from that, like managing a database, prepare you for even more advanced stuff. Each project levels you up for the next one.
Your GitHub profile is your professional storybook. So don't just dump the final code up there. Write a great README file. Explain what your project does, how someone can set it up, and maybe what you learned while you were building it. That documentation shows that you're not just a coder, you're a thoughtful developer who knows how to communicate.
At the end of the day, your first project is so much more than just code. It's a statement. It's the beginning of your portfolio. It's a real, tangible piece of your journey. It's going to start conversations and job interviews, and it's going to open doors. So, what story will your first project tell? Thanks for tuning into The Explainer.